Hi. Is there a class today? Because normally CKSL logs in, so I was just wondering.
No, 10 to 12:30, there's supposed to be something.
Yeah, normally there is, but even CKSL hasn't logged in. So I sent a message WhatsApp to D to find out if I missed out in case there was a cancellation.
Mm.
Did you get any message? No idea.
No.
Okay. So we'll wait for a while, I think, yes.
Yesterday was very uncomfortable, but the fans have been too much, I think. I wasn't done. You were sweating. Right? Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
2 more minutes. 2 or 3
Yeah,
more.
sure. We
Just
didn't see you
waiting.
logged in, so I was just asking whether we have the session today or not.
No,
So,
we have.
wonderful. Thank you.
Keeping us on mute and waiting for everyone to join in. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to you all to another session of practical Buddhism for everyday life. We're going to start now. We are not going to. We're doing the model where we don't have a break, right?
We'll have a break.
Okay. And thank you all for joining. There'll be a 10-minute break in this session. And this session involves meditation and some teaching which we can contemplate on. Please make full use of it. And we are very, very grateful. We have our senior from the center and our teacher, Venerable Gyalten, to teach us again. And we thank you, Venerable.
It's this on. It's not on. I need to go to the we can't. It's not. Desha Master, that's the name. Okay, Namo Buddhaya, everyone. Good morning. So yeah, as Dipti mentioned, we continue with our sessions on practical Buddhism, Buddhism for everyday life. And in the previous session, we had initiated a discussion on the three root poisons that are the source of our suffering, and we discussed the first poison, which is the poison of craving. So what I'm going to do for today's session is we're going to discuss the second poison, the poison of hatred or anger. And we'll see what kind of practice we can cultivate to deal with anger, what kind of antidotes we can cultivate to deal with anger. But in order to do that, we'll have to first of all understand what anger is. We'll have to figure out what its flaws are, and then see what kind of antidotes work, and then how to cultivate those antidotes. So that's going to be the focus for today's session. So before we proceed with the discussion, let's just do a short meditation. Just being aware of what our mind is up to. So we'll use the breath as the object of focus. We'll anchor our meditation in our breath. So we stay mindful of our breath, and then if we lose track of our object of focus, then we also track what other objects the mind is engaged in, and keep a mental note of where our mind is. And then maybe at this end of this meditation session, we'll discuss what kind of different kinds of minds arose in your mind stream, and try and figure out which categories those belong to. So the idea is to get ourselves familiarized with the different mental states or episodes that arise in a mental continuum, and how first of all we can categorize them, and then how we can regulate or control them. Okay, so let's start with the meditation. So just take a moment to collect your thoughts. Maybe just park all the discussion on your other commitments and your routine, and bring the focus of your mind to the subject that we're going to discuss today. Make sure that your posture is erect, your back is erect, posture you can follow the 7-point Vairocana posture. Keep your back erect, your shoulders straight, arms relaxed. Rest your right palm in the left palm, thumbs touching each other, tip of the thumbs touching each other. Chin slightly tucked in. Rest the tip of your tongue behind the upper row of teeth. And keep your eyes either closed or half open. And bring the focus of your mind to your in breath. Observe which nostril you're breathing through. And then track the entire body, the entire length of your in breath as it enters your nostril, passes down your throat, through your chest, and all the way till it reverses into the out breath, and then track the out breath through your chest, throat, through the nostrils, and as it is expelled out. You breathe in, you'll notice that your chest moves. So just observe the movement of your chest as you breathe in and breathe out, and make mental note of it. When it's rising, just notice that rising, rising. If it falls, just note it as falling, falling. Do the same for your abdomen. Your abdomen also moves as you breathe in and breathe out. So observe the movement and make mental note of the movement. If it is rising, just note it as rising, rising. If it's falling, just note it as falling, falling. Now, if you experience any discomfort in any part of your body, make a note of that sensation which is triggering that discomfort. When there's some warmth that you're feeling there, note it as warm, warm. There's some stiffness that you're feeling somewhere, then note it as stiff, stiff. And if the feeling that accompanies that sensation is pleasant, note that feeling too as pleasant. Or if there's discomfort, then note it as unpleasant. Maybe the discomfort disappears as you make note of it, or it may persist. If it's persisting, then you may want to relieve it somehow. So you make a note of that mind also, which wants to relieve the discomfort as wanting to relieve. There's some pain in the knee, you want to relieve that pain. Mind that wants to relieve that pain arises in your mind stream. Make a note of that. And then you actually follow on that wish. And you want you move your body, or stretch your arm, or scratch, whatever the body's doing, just make a note of that too. And remind yourself about the object of focus. Use the vigilance aspect of your mind to realize that the mind strayed away from the object of focus, and then draw it in back to the object of focus. And keep observing the breath. Stay focused on the breath, but also use that focused mind to generate a good motivation for the session with the Bodhicitta prayer. So let's recite the prayer. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. So Chittotpada Parartha Samyat Sambodhi Kamata. So just reflect on that verse for a moment. And let your mind arise in that aspect. Aspiring for Buddhahood, to meet or rather to deliver on the purpose of working for the welfare of other sentient beings. Okay. So let's discuss what you noted. So as we've done this in our previous sessions also, different kinds of minds, right? So there are thoughts and perceptions, right? So can you give me an example of a perception that you noted in your meditation? Any perception?
Discomfort.
Discomfort, okay. So the sensation that was causing the discomfort, right? Discomfort itself is a feeling. Yeah. So It's a mental factor that goes along with the main mind, which observes the sensation that is causing that pain, that painful or discomfort, painful feeling or discomfort. So, what was the sensation that was creating this discomfort? A physical sensation, or was it just a mental thought?
No, my pants are damp
Okay.
because my car seat was wet.
Okay.
So I know that that is causing me,
Okay.
like I'm paying
Okay.
too much
Yeah.
attention to
All
the
right.
fact that.
Okay, so that physical sensation of dampness was kind of leading to that discomfort, right? Okay, so you see, there's the main mind which observes or perceives the sensation, and then there's the feeling of discomfort that goes along with that main mind. That is called the mental factor of feeling. Yeah, that could trigger a sequence of mental episodes also. So, any example of thought that you noted in your meditation?
Venerable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was judging myself for getting distracted. So kind of a blame came up saying, "Oh, okay, why am I not on my breath?"
You were judging, okay, why are you getting distracted? Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's an example that judging mind is a thought consciousness, you're right, as opposed to a perception which perceives a sensation like, a tactile object uh, or, a sound or a visual object or maybe a smell, or a taste. So in our case, I guess a lot of you would have noted sound, yeah, sounds coming from outside or maybe even within these premises. So anyone observed sound? What sound? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fan.
Okay, the whirring of the fan, right? So that is an example of a perception again. So it's a ear consciousness that observes the sound of the fan. Was it pleasant?
It was
Distracting. Okay, so again, there's a mind that feels that it's not pleasant or unpleasant. So
Yeah, and for me it was neutral.
for you, it was neutral. It could be neutral also, yeah. So it could be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. So the mental factor of feeling could take on any of these forms, yeah. Could be pleasant, could be unpleasant, or neutral. Anyone smelled something? Smell difficult, right? Yeah, sound of vehicles going on, passing by, yeah. So with the sound also, were you able to cognize the presence or the existence of a certain kind of vehicle on the road? Yeah. So, for example, just now we heard the sound. Can we realize that it was the sound of a two-wheeler, a motorbike? Yeah. But a motorbike is what kind of an object is a motorbike? From amongst the 5 different kinds of objects that our senses access, what kind of object is a motorbike? It's a visual object, right? A motorbike? Or would you put it in a different category? Motorbike?
Yeah, it's a visual object, but it has certain characteristics.
Yeah. So primarily a visual object, I would say, primarily. Although, you can debate if it is a visual object, then it has a form, and on the basis of that form, you should be able to cognize its existence. Yeah. So for the moment, let's say it's a visual object. Yeah. But we couldn't see the object, right? But yet we cognized its existence. Yeah. So how could we do that? Yeah. So the auditory sense, right? But the motorbike is not an auditory object, right?
You could visualize, maybe based on your finding or knowledge, your mind can perceive that it's a motorbike, and sometimes you get a recollection of that also.
Yeah. So the mind realizes
Memory.
yeah.
Memory, smriti.
Through memory, yes, memory is playing a part there, yeah. So the mind that realizes the motorbike, uh, it's not a visual, it's not an eye consciousness, right? Uh, it's a thought consciousness. It's not a perception, yeah. But it is still realizing the object. So it is cognitive. It cognizes the object, but it's cognizing the object through another through the agency of a different mind. What is that mind? The mind that perceives the sound, a certain kind of sound. And then there's another mind which establishes a relationship between this sound and the motorbike. So there are two kinds of minds in play. A mind that perceives the sound, a sound, and then a mind that establishes the relationship between that sound and the object motorbike. Those two minds precede the mind that recognizes the existence of that motorbike, right? So the realization of the motorbike is a thought consciousness, and it is what we call an inference or an inferential cognition, as opposed to a perception. A perception doesn't need any intermediate image or conception to realize its object. Like you can see me right now, or rather, you can see my form. Yeah. Again, I'm not a form. Yeah. I'm a person, but you can see my form. Yeah. So your eye consciousness can get at my form without the intermediation of any other mind or image. Whereas in the case of this realization of a motorbike, existence of a motorbike, you use the services of a ear consciousness that perceives the sound, and then a thought consciousness that from memory, as she mentioned, establishes the relationship between that sound and that object. And then based on that, you infer correctly again. It could be wrong inference also, but here you infer correctly that there is a motorbike on the road. Yeah.
It's also the mind that makes you feel something about the motorbike, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it goes along with the thought consciousness that has realized the motorbike. So it could be getting at, or rather recollecting some attribute of the motorbike, and you either have some sort of pleasant disposition towards it, or an unpleasant or a neutral disposition towards it. So that would be the function of the factor, the mental factor of feeling. Yeah. So that goes along with the main mind. Yeah. So feeling is a very important kind of mental factor. It goes with the main mind. So the main mind gives you information about the sensation, or an object like the motorbike. The main mind, there is not a perception but a thought consciousness, and along with that main mind there could be feeling of either something that is drawing you towards it because you think it is pleasant, or repelling you from it because you think that that object is unpleasant. So pleasant or unpleasant, that that call is taken by, or that information is provided by the feeling factor, the mental factor of feeling. Okay, so yeah.
But Venerable, even when I see you,
Mm.
see your form,
Yeah.
there is thought consciousness, because I don't just see your form.
Yes.
I know your name.
Yes.
I know who you are. So while I'm seeing it,
Yes.
seeing you directly as against the motorcycle,
Yes.
there is still thought consciousness playing
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. So based on the direct perception of my form,
Right.
again, you realize that I'm sitting here. Kalden is sitting here. Although Kalden is not the form, so you're not realizing Kalden through your eye consciousness. It's a thought consciousness that associates this form with Kalden, the person Kalden. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. So that perception of the form is enabling the perception of Gyalten. So there are perceptions, there are thought consciousnesses. So these are both cognitive kind of minds. And then there is the main mind, the cognitive aspect, which realizes the entity of the object. And then there's another aspect of the mind, which we can call it as affective aspect of the mind, which is in the form of feeling in relation to that mind. Yeah. So there's the cognitive and the affective aspect of the mind. There are perceptions and thought consciousnesses. Within the cognitive states, there are perceptions and inferences. Yeah. Any other example of thought consciousness that arose in your mind stream? If, let's say, while you're meditating, you had an image of your house, what kind of mind would that be? Is it a perception or a thought consciousness? It's a thought consciousness. It's a thought, right? And within the category of thought, is it an inference or is it some other kind of? It is what we would call a memories. Yeah. Somebody said memory, right? So it's a memory. So it is what we call a subsequent kind of a cognition. So we've already kind of cognized that mind in the past, that object in the past. And that cognition is triggering this moment where we are realizing the house, although it's through an image. Yeah? So that could be another example of thought consciousness. Yeah.
Sometimes mind wander away,
Yeah.
like which is not in the past experiences. Like while I'm doing meditating, sometimes I feel that I'm walking on the surface of water and water body,
Uh-huh.
or maybe I'm wandering, walking somewhere in the mountain, Snowy Mountain in Arunachal.
Yeah.
But that is not in my past experience.
Uh-huh.
But this type of thoughts are there.
Yeah.
So what it will be? It will be because it is not in the memory or not in the past experiences.
Yeah.
Or not in any like visual or
Yeah. And not triggered by past experiences. They're thoughts. They're thoughts. Like even in our dreams, we see, we have, rather we realize objects that we may not have engaged with in the past. So thoughts need not always be in the form of memory. Yeah? They could take on these forms where the object that the thought is realizing is a new object. And that object may or may not exist. If it exists, then it's fine. If it's not non-existent, then it's a wrong consciousness. Yeah. So within thoughts, you have what you would call as wrong consciousnesses. You could have doubting thoughts. Yeah. You could have thoughts which kind of tend towards reality. Yeah. So you have that hierarchy. Wrong consciousness is something that gets at object which does not exist. Doubt is kind of, balanced between existent and non-existent. And a thought consciousness, third category is thought which tends towards reality. Yeah. So you have that kind of hierarchy.
in which mind it is getting there.
In
which mind this type of thoughts are getting there.
So it's your own mental continuum. You can't talk about one mind. There are different kinds of minds that flowing through your mental continuum. Yeah. So one moment it's you have this visual perception, and then that triggers a sequence of minds, and maybe at the end of that sequence, the kind of mind that we just spoke of, that manifests. Yeah.
Whenever if you come on with imagination, right?
Yes.
So imagination is right. And then also there's an element of memory in it. Because obviously, if he's talking about going from walking some mountainous area,
Yeah.
he's either seen a video of it or he's heard somebody talking about it or he's read about it.
Yeah.
It's not, he hasn't just wrote it down out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, two things.
Yeah, I guess some aspect of memory would be in play there. But you can also conceive of a mind which no aspect of the object that the mind is getting at.
So that's imagination.
That's imagination.
Or fantasy. Fantasy
fantasy
would be
also.
wrong consciousness.
It's a wrong consciousness. If the object that the fantasy is getting at is non-existent, that is a wrong
Wrong
consciousness.
in sense, ethically wrong or?
Not
factually
ethically wrong, it's in
Factually.
relation, factually wrong. It's in relation to the object that
Hmm.
that it is getting at.
Mistaken.
A mistaken consciousness
No, but
also
that's
slightly
why-
different. Mistaken. A wrong consciousness.
No, movies and books that,
Uh.
that are like fantasy is a huge genre, right?
Yeah.
So you mean all that is wrong consciousness? Is that how we label it?
Yeah. So if you in a movie you see heroes kind of flying in the sky. Yeah. You have the perception of somebody who's flying in the sky, a human flying in the sky. What kind of consciousness would that be? The visual consciousness that sees that.
Harry Potter flying on
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Well, I would.
So the visual consciousness which realizes the fiction or a fictional person kind of flying in the sky, that is fine. But if the visual consciousness kind of thinks or realizes a man flying in the sky, that would be a wrong consciousness, isn't it? Because there's no man flying in the sky, it's just an illusion. Right.
That illusion also, that manifestation also, like you say, that dependent on them. Somewhere it is getting originated. That is the cause. So that's why this type of thoughts are coming as an effect.
Yeah.
So what could be the causes?
What could be the causes?
Because these are the effects of something. Anything there is like cause and effect theory to take.
Yeah. Usually the imagination in our mind stream is mostly triggered by some sort of seeds or imprints that we have in our mind stream from the past. Yeah. So as she said, some aspect of that imagination also could be rooted in some experience that you've had in the past. So there's an aspect of memory also that is driving that imagination. But you can also conceive of something that is entirely kind of fictional, completely imaginary. Yeah. I don't think you need to kind of confine yourself to this scenario where it's a combination of fact and fiction. You could conceive of a mind that gets at an object that is entirely fictional. Entirely fictional. An example of a wrong consciousness that's provided in the text is this consciousness that realizes the horns of a rabbit. It's fictional, right? It's fiction. It does not exist. Or it does not exist for a valid consciousness. There could be a person who would say that there are horns. A rabbit has a horn or horns, but the conventional wisdom is that rabbits do not have horns. So that would be wrong consciousness. That's an example. That's fiction, right? Yeah. And an example of a doubt. Can you think about example of a doubting consciousness?
When the man landed on the moon.
Has the man landed on the moon? Okay.
The big one.
Is it past life? Is it life future?
Oh, yeah. That's a mind that thinks that maybe there's no rebirth. Yeah.
Well, then is there liberation? Is there truly? Maybe also.
Sorry?
Is there liberation truly?
Yeah. Is liberation possible? Does it exist? That's also a doubting mind. Yeah.
There's a permanent soul.
Whether there's a permanent soul, yes, that's also a doubting mind. Yeah. But if you grasp at the existence of a permanent soul, what kind of mind would that be? You think that it exists.
Superstitious.
Mistaken. That will be mistaken.
Mistaken or wrong consciousness, actually. According to the Buddhist system of tenets, yeah. If you analyze the same thing in relation to some other tenet systems, it's not a wrong consciousness. But according to the Buddhist system of tenets, it's wrong consciousness.
But Chittamatra, Venerable Chittamatra does say that though there is some part which is objective, whereas everything else is doesn't have objective existence. So within the Buddhist system also, Chittamatra does say that some part of the continuum is objective, I mean, truly exists. So isn't that also a contradiction? I mean, Prasangika says everything is empty of objective existence, but Chittamatra says some part is. So I don't know what that confusion is.
Well, in the Chittamatra system, they wouldn't say that we accept the existence of a permanent soul, a personal soul, or
Not a
an
permanent soul,
impersonal soul.
but some part is
Yeah, you're right.
true.
But that is from the reference of the Prasangika school. Yeah.
Okay, right.
So the for the Prasangikas, every other tenet system
Everything is
within the Buddhist order also, they kind of subscribe to some notion of a real essence
correct.
in the person or an impersonal phenomenon. Yeah, but for their respective system of tenets, they would say that there's no permanent soul. Nobody within the Buddhist system would agree to the existence of a permanent soul. Although, if examined from the perspective of a higher school, let's
Prasang,
take the reference point to be the Prasangic school,
Prasang.
then every other school in the Buddhist order, subscribes to some notion of a real essence. Even what is called the Swatantrikas, and both
Right.
Swatantrika and the Prasangikas are the middle way proponents, Madhyamaks. But even within that school, the Swatantrikas are supposed to, put forward this theory that there is some sort of a real essence to entities, to
So
phenomena.
sorry, with the reference to this, Venerable, so when you're talking about the self-cognizing mind,
Mm.
we are saying that there is an object that I perceive, and across the continuum of time there is mind one, mind two. So mind two perceives mind one, then and mind two is perceived by mind three across timeline. So are we saying that? So then. Is this the concept of a self-cognizing mind? So all my perceptions about thoughts, images, memories are in a continuum and in towards infinity. So the problem of the regressive. Uh, so is that a valid argument of saying that there's a self-cognizing mind? There's a mind which observes the mind. Is that a valid?
Well, according to some schools of Buddhism, yeah, they kind of have to posit a self-cognizing mind. But
Okay.
again, if Prasangika is the reference
Okay.
system, they refute the existence of a self-cognizing mind.
Right.
They don't see any need to posit the
No,
existence of self-cognizing.
they do say that the very first moment of your perception of a phenomena, at the very first moment, has a self-cognizing mind attached to it. Every perception, every moment of perception has a self-awareness mind at that instant. Later on, as it progresses, but every
The Prasangikas.
I think in Prasangika too.
No, the Prasangikas do not.
Then how can Prasangika affirm the self-awareness?
The Prasangika says that the mind realizing its object is sufficient for it to have the ability to trigger a future moment of mind that can recollect the.
Sorry, it has to. You're triggering the future. We are talking about the present. The mind that is aware of itself as well as the perception.
Mm. So that's not a self-cognizing mind. Self-cognizing mind is posited as a separate aspect of the mind, which realizes the object and also the perception, the perceiver that is getting at the object. So there are three parts there. There's the object, there's the subject that perceives the object, and then there's a self-cognizing awareness apart from these two. Yeah, so the Prasangika says that is not necessary.
But I didn't mean a separate self-awareness at all.
Okay.
I meant the intrinsic nature of every mind that arises.
Yeah.
At the moment of contact has a self-awareness attribute to it. It's
yeah.
not a separate
Yeah,
mind that
yeah,
arises. That is.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's fine.
That's
Then.
fine.
All right. Cool.
Okay, so let's proceed. Yeah. Uh, so the idea of this discussion was to just get ourselves into the habit of looking inwards, looking at the different mental experiences that we have, and trying to identify what are the different constituents of a mental continuum. Typically, we just think about it as being monolithic, one single thing. We think about the mind as being just one single thing, but there are different independent kind of episodes that are streaming through a mental continuum. So just get into the habit of observing them. And what we just saw is a classification of the different kinds of minds that could arise in a mental continuum. Okay, so the topic that we're going to discuss. So last session we saw, we're discussing the three poisons, yeah, and how they are at the root of our suffering. And we discussed how craving is at the root of our suffering. So if we're to look at the essence of the Buddha's teachings, what is the essence of all the discourses that the Buddha gave? It's essentially about actualizing the state of freedom, liberation, some sort of freedom that he spoke of. And what is the kind of freedom that he spoke of? Freedom from
Karma and affliction.
yeah, some afflictions that keep us bounded in samsara. And what are the most fundamental of these afflictions that keep us bounded in samsara?
Craving is attachment.
Yes. So the three craving, then there's attachment, and there's what is called delusion. Yeah. So craving is rag, and then there's hatred or anger, which is dvesh, and then there's the third affliction, which is called delusion or moha. So the Buddha says weeds are the bane of fields, lust is the bane of mankind. Hence, to those lustless, what is given yields abundant fruit. So it says, Trina doshani kshetrani, raga dosha yam prajaha, tasmadi vita rageshu dattam bhavati mahaphalam. So weeds are the bane of fields. So like your farmers, they have to clear away the farms of all the weeds before they plant anything. Because if they don't do that, if there are weeds in this one corner of the farm and that's left unattended, then in a span of maybe 2-3 months, the whole farm would be covered with the weeds, and the crop that they want to plant, that would be completely destroyed. So similarly, lust is also kind of a weed. If you don't attend to it when you notice its presence in your mind stream, then it's just going to completely pervade your entire mental continuum. And as the Buddha said, this is the source of suffering. So you need to kind of be aware of this fact and clear it as soon as you notice its presence. And he says that hence to those who are free of lust or craving or desire, if you make an offering, what is given, it yields abundant fruit. So they are object of worship, veneration. And if you make any offering to them, it yields abundant fruit because they're free of craving. And then he also says, Trina doshani kshetrani dvesh dosha ayam apraja. Tasmati vigata dvesheshu dattam bhavati mahaphalam. So just like hatred is the bane of, just like lust is the bane of mankind, hatred is also the bane of mankind. So weeds are the bane of fields, hatred is the bane of mankind. Hence, to those rid of hatred, what is given yields abundant fruit. So just like you make an offering to a person who is free of craving and desire, if you make any offering to that person, it yields abundant fruit in form of merits. In a similar manner, in a person who's free of hatred, anger, if you make any offering to a person like that, then it yields a lot of merit to you, a lot of positive results. it yields abundant fruit. And the third affliction, which is moha. So trina doshani kshetrani moha dosha yam prajaha tasmadi vigat moheshu dattam bhavati mahafalam. So weeds are the bane of fields. Delusion is the bane of mankind. Hence, to those rid of delusion, what is given yields abundant fruit. So the third affliction, delusion. So the three poisons, craving, then there's hatred and delusion. So what kind of delusion is the Buddha talking about here? Any wrong ideas, but pertaining to a specific concept. Wrong ideas about karma could be a delusion, yes. A little more fundamental to that is this, wrong view that a permanent essence describes any entity, yeah, or the notion of a soul. So what he said, or the theory that he propounded was the theory of anatmavad. So there is no atma in any entity. Yeah. So that is the delusion that is at the root of our suffering. That triggers these two fundamental afflictions of craving and anger. And these, in turn, they trigger derivative afflictions. So anger is also a very potent kind of affliction, and if left uncontrolled, unattended, it can lead to all kinds of problems for us, both in the present as well as in the future. So there's the story about a woman named Rohini. So Rohini was the sister of a disciple of the Buddha called Aniruddha. So have you heard of Aniruddha? Buddha had some very important disciples who were also kind of related to him. So who were the other disciples who were related to him? Anand, yes. His cousins, yeah, mostly cousins. Devdutt, yes. Anand, Nanda, then there's, sorry? Rahul was his son, yes. Yashoda. Yeah. So Shanti is targeting the immediate family, and the others were cousins. Rahul also had the distinction of being the first novice in the Sangha, the Bhikshu Sangha, the ordained Sangha rather. So he was only 7 years old when he got ordained. So he was the first novice monk in the order, the monastic order. Yashodhara was one of his first Bhikshuni disciples. Yeah. Who was the first Bhikshuni?
Mahamaya,
Her
mother,
sister,
the aunt.
her sister, yeah. Mama's sister. Yeah. Gautami, Prajapati Gautami, yeah.
Prajapati.
Who raised Siddhartha, yeah. So Rohini was the sister of Aniruddha, and Aniruddha had already attained the state of Arhatut, and he was visiting his home. His home was in Kapilvastu. So there was a place called the Banyan Grove, or the Naigrotha Aram, near Kapilvastu. And while he was there, all his relatives, friends, they came to visit him, pay respects to him. But then he noticed that his sister wasn't around. Rohini wasn't around. And then he summoned one of his relatives and asked him, "Where is Rohini? Why is she coming? Why isn't she here?" And the relative says that Rohini, she's got a problem. She's got this eruption on her skin eruption on her face, and she's ashamed to be in your presence. So Aniruddha says that go summon her, let her come and visit me. So then Rohini covers herself in a cloth, some dupatta pallu kind of thing, and then she comes in his presence. And then Aniruddha asks Rohini, "Why is it that you haven't come to visit me?" And Rohini says that I have this problem. I felt too ashamed to be in your presence. And then Anirudh says, you need to engage in some virtuous acts, create some merit to, remove this obstacle. And he asks Rohini to build a kind of abode lodging for the bhikshus. So Rohini asked, but brother, I don't have any resources to build such a big lodging for the bhikshus. So Anirudh says, you have, all these ornaments, jewels that you have. How much money did you spend to buy this? And she says 10,000 coins or something like that. So there's plenty of money that you have. So you sell all that and you use those resources to buy the money needed for constructing the lodging. And then she asked, but okay, I have the money, but who's going to help me build the lodging? So then Anirudh looks at his relatives, and the relatives then agreed to help her in the construction of the lodging. And then Anirudh says, once the construction, you build a 2-storied lodging, and then once the planks are ready, the second floor is kind of ready. On the ground floor, you need to sweep the lodging, the premises every day, and make sure that there are water bottles, water pots placed in the lodging, and they're filled with water so that the bhikshus can come and quench their thirst if they have to. And she does that, and so every day she would clean away the premises, sweep the premises clean, make sure that the water pots are filled with water, and so on. And once the lodging was complete, the construction was done, then Anirudh decided to invite Shakvini Buddha to inaugurate that place, invite him for a meal in that place. So Rohini was asked to make the preparations, and she made the preparations. She prepared for making a meal offering to the Buddha and his retinue of bhikshus. And so Buddha came, he was offered a seat, and then he had the meal, and then he inquired who was the person who is offering this meal. And Anirudh says, Venerable Sir, it's your own sister, Rohini. And then Shakvini says, where is she? I can't see her. And then Shakvini asks her to come in his presence, summons her. And then she comes there, and Shakvini asks her, why is it that you didn't come before? And she says, I have this problem. There's the skin eruption on my face. And that's why I was too ashamed to be in your presence, and that's why I didn't come. And then the Buddha says, do you know why? What is the cause of this skin eruption? And she says, I don't. Anirudh also asks, what is the cause? And then Buddha narrates a story from a past life. So in a past life, she was born in a very rich household, and she was married into a rich household. Or rather, she was married into a royal household. She was the queen of Banaras, Varanasi. And it so happened that there was another courtesan or a dancer in the king's court. And the king was quite fond of that courtesan, and she developed some sort of anger towards that dancer. And she decided to kind of teach her a lesson. So she got hold of her attendant servants, and she asked them to get some sort of a powder, itching powder, made from, I think, velvet beans, it's called. So she collected the skin of those beans, the pods, and then crushed them, dried it, made it into powder, and then summoned this dancer in her presence. And then, while she was in her presence, she asked the servants to go to her quarters, the dancer's quarters, and spread the itching powder on her bed, in her clothing, blanket, everything. And then when she came into her presence, she, like, just out of jest, she sprinkled some powder onto her. And because of that, the dancer, she had a very strong reaction, started itching all over, and there were boils on all over her body. And then she was itching and scratching all parts of her body, and then she retired to her quarters. And she lay down. She lied down there, and then there's itching powder even in her bedding, and her pain, her torment, just kept increasing. There's no relief for her. So the Buddha said that it is because of that evil deed that you did in the past to this dancer, out of anger, out of jealousy. This what you are experiencing right now. She is suffering from leprosy. The cause for your suffering from leprosy was this evil deed that you did in the past. That was out of anger. So then he also gave a small verse, a teaching in the form of a verse. He says, "Give up anger, abandon conceit, overcome all fetters, ills of life, which is dukkha. Do not befall on one who does not cling to mind and body or name and form, and is free from moral defilements." So he says, Krodam jaheda viprajaheda manam samyojanam sarvam atikrameta tamanam rupe cha asajyamanam akinchanam nanu patanti dukkhani. So if you give up anger, you need to give up anger, you need to abandon pride or conceit, you need to overcome all fetters, all afflictions. Ills of life or dukkha do not befall on one who does not cling to name and form. So you're clinging, you're grasping at name and form, your attachment to name and form is the root of all the suffering that you experience. And if you're free from this attachment and all are free from other moral defilements, then there's no dukkha that you experience. So what you need to do is you need to give up anger. You need to abandon all kinds of conceit. So this is the he emphasized very strongly to give up anger, to give up pride, and to give up attachment to name and form or namarup, because those are the roots that keep you bound in the cycle of dukkha. Yeah. So anger, as is evident from this verse, from this discourse that the Buddha gave, is a very potent kind of affliction, and potent in the sense that it creates suffering in the future. So what are the other anger is an afflictive state of mind, but there are other kind of associated or affiliated similar kind of afflictive minds in the mind stream, similar to anger. What kind of minds can you think of? Jealousy is also kind of rooted in anger or kind of associated, affiliated with anger. Revenge, yes. So you start with anger, which is some sort of mental discomfort, and then that takes on a more potent form. It takes on the form of resentment, rancor, revenge. Yes. Then
Pride.
pride also is an affiliated mind. Yes. Yeah.
There's the extreme form of anger, hatred.
Yes, there's hatred. Yes. Extreme form of anger. You're right. Yes. Malice. Yes.
Irritation, violence,
Okay. So a state where you actually want to kind of hold a stick and beat the other person.
And milder
So-
forms of anger,
Like
annoyance.
annoyance, yes. So that's the discomfort. So it starts off with that kind of so that would be the starting point, this discomfort, this annoyance that you're talking about, or irritation. Then that takes on more intense forms. So there's let's call the first one anger. Second one would be belligerence. So you actually want to pick up a stick. If the person is in your vicinity, the source of suffering is in your vicinity, the source of annoyance or irritation is in your vicinity, then you want to take up a stick and beat that source. So that's belligerence. Then there's a lingering kind of thought in your mind which wants to seek revenge. That is resentment or revenge, as she mentioned. And it takes on a more kind of hostile form in the form of spite, where you actually weaponize your ill will towards that person through the form of harsh speech or bad words towards that person. Then there's hatred or there's harmfulness, where you have a very strong intent to create or rather create some physical harm, bring some physical harm to that person. And then there's hatred, or there's jealousy or envy, and then there's pride. So some 8-9 different kinds of affiliated mental factors which are related to anger. So what would be the opposite of these, or the antidotes to these? Patience. Yes.
Loving
Compassion,
kindness.
love. Yes. Yeah.
Loving kindness. Yeah.
Loving kindness. Yes. Yes. That's right. Yeah. Any other? So opposite of harmfulness would be non-harmfulness. Hatred would be non-hatred. Yeah. Envy. What would be a opposite for envy?
Rejoicing.
Rejoicing. Yes. Pride. Humility. Yes. Yeah. What are the more potent antidotes? Generosity. Okay. Yes.
Love.
Love. Yes. Love, compassion, and then the most potent would be bodhicitta, mind of enlightenment. Yeah. So this is
Patience.
what we'll discuss. So we'll look at the first of all, we'll look at the anger class, and then we'll see what kind of antidotes we need to cultivate to deal with the anger class mental factors. So what we'll do is we'll take a short break for 5 minutes, and then reassemble and then continue the discussion. We need to pause this, right?
Okay. Please, let's all come back.
Okay, so when you think about a causal flow of anger or resentment, how does it actually flow? You actually mentioned something very important. So it takes on a very innocuous form first, some sort of an annoyance or irritation. And what could be the source of that annoyance or irritation? Possible sources. Yeah, from the outside, external.
Attachment to the external object.
Okay. How would attachment to an external object trigger annoyance or anger in you?
Because to be separated from the object of attachment generates all kinds of modified
Yeah,
feelings
that's-
within.
Yeah, yeah.
And
You're right. Yeah. So it
and
starts
having,
up.
having excess of what you
Yeah.
what you attach also can generate.
Correct. So the source, it could be external in the form of person that you not very comfortable with, or it could also be an inanimate source, right?
Not
Or-
getting your way.
Not getting
Pizza.
your way.
Pizza.
Sorry,
Pizza.
pizza.
No, not getting your pizza.
Not getting your pizza. Okay, but you won't direct your anger towards the pizza, right? Yeah. Delivery boy, yeah, could be. Yeah, you're expecting it in 10 minutes and the bugger doesn't show up for an hour. Yeah, he's kept you away from your source of pleasure for almost an hour. And who are you angry at? You're angry at the delivery boy. Yeah. But it's possible that there were some conditions which prevented him from bringing it on time. But your annoyance is directed at the delivery boy. So anger actually starts in this innocuous form. It takes the shape of annoyance or irritation. So that is the kind of it's some sort of a mental discomfort. So it's the fuel of anger, and then it kind of gets a little more intense, and it takes on the form of you feeling hurt because you, as you said, you're pursuing union with a sense of a source of pleasure. Or conversely, you want to stay away from something that is the source of pain.
It could also be a source of, let's say you're in a hospital waiting to get, let's say, nebulizer, you're asthmatic, and or you're gone with an asthmatic patient, and the person, whoever it is, they're taking too long to attend,
Yeah.
and the person is suffering
Yeah.
discomfort.
Yeah.
In which case, also there is very often anger arises, but that's not pizza, right?
Yeah. So the source of relief for you, the nebulizer, yeah, and somebody's keeping you away from it. So yeah, that source of relief or source of pleasure is made accessible to you through some other person, but that person is now responsible for you to not having unified with that source of pleasure. So yeah, so your anger would then be directed
Yeah,
towards
but
that
more
person.
than pleasure, sometimes it
Yeah,
is like
that's
life and
really,
death
yeah.
also, right?
Yeah.
And I was saying that people should stay in UK for a couple of months.
Okay.
Then all these things will go away.
Yeah.
You know, generate a lot of patience.
In
To
UK.
get an X-ray appointment, you need to wait for 3 weeks. To get your CT scan, you have to wait for 3 months.
That's what I hear.
In AN, accident and emergency, you see all sorts of people with cuts and wounds waiting there.
Uh-huh.
Then your problem before that will look tidy.
Yeah. Yeah, I keep hearing these kind of stories. Yeah. Apparently, you know that there's a very sizable Tibetan diaspora in the US. So if they want to get some dental work done, they buy a ticket to India. Yeah. It's so expensive there. There's yeah. Very sensitive.
Expensive.
Yeah.
Just spending 3 weeks here and then getting it done.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's what I
And
hear.
then you save some.
Yeah, you still save quite a lot after that. So yeah, I've heard of similar instances. Yeah.
I think anger has all its roots in the attachment to oneself. Like,
Right.
I want this, or if somebody has not done it the way according to I feel
Yes.
should be done according to my beliefs. So
Yes.
I should have got this in 10 minutes. So it's always around the attachment to it. That's what I feel is the base of the anger.
Yeah, so it is rooted in the sense of self, and what keeps the self happy. Yeah. So it's rooted in that delusion, anger, attachment, and specifically, what this I wants is what we say the 8 worldly concerns, right? So you want more of physical pleasure, to be separated from any kind of pain. So pleasure and pain. You want profit. You want to be separated from any kind of loss, and then you want fame. You want to be separated from any kind of ill fame or disrepute. You want praise and to be separated from criticism. So these are the 4 pairs which describe the 8 worldly concerns. So anybody which hinders, or anything that hinders this, impedes this process, becomes a source of anger for you or annoyance for you. So you kind of then direct your annoyance, which then takes on the form of maybe anger and resentment towards that person. And it comes to a stage where the conditions that could trigger an outburst, an immediate outburst, all those conditions kind of assemble. That state could be described as a state of intense frustration, and then you let out your steam, and it takes on the form of manifest anger. And you see anger as some sort of actually a savior, a protector, as a friend. How so? Because it helps you in your battle, in your desire, your aspiration, your wish to take revenge against the source of pain or source of suffering, which is preventing you from experiencing the positive side of the 8 worldly concerns, and kind of probably drawing you towards the other side, the undesirable side of the 8 worldly concerns. So generally, this is the process. Yeah.
So there's a very lovely quote Carlos Castaneda,
Uh-huh.
who says, our self-importance requires that we spend most of our lives offended by somebody.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Yeah.
When you think about it, the moment you're offended by somebody, then he or she does something and you're not offended by that person anymore, but you're instantly offended by somebody else.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. It's constant. Yeah.
It's constant.
It's constant. That's right.
Self-importance.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. What Shagun just mentioned. and this grasping at this
Yes.
notion of self. You have your own sense, your own sense of identity. You kind of described your identity, and anything that kind of challenges that identity, you take offense to that. That triggers annoyance, and then that annoyance takes on the form of feeling of hurt. You probably justify your feeling hurt because you think that there's some injustice in you being prevented from acquiring the things that you wish for, or being united with things that you want to be separated from. And then that takes on a form of frustration, and frustration then is responsible for triggering anger. It takes on a manifest form in a physical action or a verbal action. So that's usually the process, and it's rooted in this idea of the self-conception. It's the root cause. Yeah.
I have a question.
Sorry, I
about
can't hear
anger?
you.
What about anger that is a form of protection? Like, I notice that a lot of the times I get angry when I'm feeling helpless and powerless.
Yeah.
And then I use anger just as a mask to not feel that helplessness.
Yeah, that's what I said. You actually look upon anger as some sort of a protector, a savior for you. You feel a little kind of courageous, that you're giving expression to the internal discomfort that you're feeling in relation to a certain object of suffering. But as we'll see in our discussion, that really is not a very healthy mindset. It does not yield any benefits to you. That anger could, trigger a wish to take revenge, and then you initiate a whole set of unwholesome actions. It brings you relief neither in the present nor in the future, and it does not undo what harm the other person has directed towards you.
It could be like in her, whatever she's mentioning, when you are helpless, anger can be used as a defense mechanism as well, to protect yourself or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
When you are
But how so? How is it defend, and what is it defending you against?
like if somebody is trying to bully you or something, you raise your voice and this one, it could be
Indeed, many times
down.
in my day-to-day life, almost every day I come across these experiences, what he's talking of.
Give an example.
It's a work. In the sense that because I have to prevent it from happening, these are immoral things that happen. And so this is a question I want to ask you. What about anger that arises out of how does that
Self-preservation.
Kind of self-preservation also. But how does that prevent wrong karma from occurring?
Can you give an example? I think that would be better.
I mean,
you said in your day-to-day life,
it's a bit perverse, so I don't want to.
Okay.
Earlier I used to work for a bank. So in the bank, public sector customer will be coming, customers.
Yes.
And many people are senior citizens.
Yes.
They don't understand many things.
Yes.
And they shout. So before them shout, you start shouting.
Okay.
It's not like that towards them. Just raise your voice.
Okay.
So they will find okay. So let's be calm first.
Okay.
So it is as I was working, it was kind of defense mechanism. Not defense mechanism, but to cool down the situation. Before they shout, you have to raise your voice and explain things loudly.
Yeah, but see, your behavior takes on a certain kind of expression in the form of this raised voice. But is it motivated by ill will?
No.
Is it motivated by anger? So that's not anger, actually. It's just some sort of a skillful way to deal with the situation. It's the motivation that is, if the motivation is driven by ill will, you want to kind of direct some harm towards that person, then that is not advisable.
But there's certainly an element of irritation when I understand what everyone saying. It's very common because everyone's very opinionated also these days. So they will come and it's very easy these days to, just take your volume up and look like you are the bigger man. So it's very common actually.
Yeah, it works. Frankly, for me, it works every day. It works because I get this gaze bothering my life from morning to evening, wherever I go. And the only thing that works against them is anger. With these guys, you cannot be not angry because they take that as an invitation.
Okay.
So I'm telling you, this is one of the worst things I'm experiencing day in, day out. These dirty people, these dirty men.
Okay.
And because of them, I have come to understand anger, and I realize it also brings up questions about, wrathful deities. If I take on the form of a wrathful deity, because what they're doing is immoral, and therefore, as a form of a wrathful deity, then how does that generate negative karma for me? This was my question, because it is not possible for me to accept this nonsense. And if it is directed to me, I hit like nobody's business. I take out my chappal and I hit them right there and then in public. In public, I hit them. I'm not kidding. Now, that is bound to generate negative karma for me.
Yeah.
See, I insult them in public. I openly call them out in public. You are a homosexual and you are doing this. And so, that is bound to generate negative. Yet, if I don't do it, this is not a good thing. So this is a kind of a problem for me, and it's a huge problem for me, because what is immoral, and we have this dirty community following all over the place, doing all kinds of dirty things. So I cannot say that anger. I have to get angry. If I don't get angry, if I don't show anger, maybe I'm not angry, but most of the time I am angry. But if I don't show anger, it allows these dirty men to carry on doing their dirty things.
Okay, let's take another example. Yeah, something that all of us would have encountered in Bangalore, at least when I was here. Every day, if you step out, you want to go to some place, take an auto rickshaw, you hail an auto ride, yeah. And it would start off with a conference between yourself and the auto driver. There had to be a conference, yeah. And the objective was, who gets to. From your side, you want the fare to be fair, but the other guy wants to kind of profit from that transaction. So he starts off by quoting something that is very ridiculous. So if the fare is going to be like $50, you would start at 200, and then you have to negotiate, and it comes down to maybe 75, and then you agree. But you also step into the rickshaw with the feeling that, you've been cheated. Yeah, 50 is the justified fare, but you ended up paying 75. And then the guy takes you, and then you want to be dropped at destination A, and he takes you to a destination which is short of A, and he says you can't go any further because there's this problem and that problem, or you're not paying me the right fare. Another source of irritation for you. What would be an appropriate response in this situation?
Take a bus.
Take a bus.
Seriously.
That's what you do, yeah.
They come down from 200 to
75. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And yeah. Yeah, that's a smart move.
Money coming in, money going out is ephemeral and transitory.
Yeah.
And how much money at any given time is your result of your karma. So if you have ended up giving 25 rupees a bit more to somebody, that itself is a clearing up of some past thing. At the same time, if one has developed this non-attachment and a compassion, my giving of 25 rupees is not going to create any problem for me, but could certainly be something
so
meaningful and valuable for this person.
That's a positive way of looking at it.
So I feel that that's the best. I adopt that method.
Yeah.
Whenever I feel I've been cheated, hey, go ahead, take it.
So most of us would just kind of, as it's said in Tibetan, Dong Napo. Yeah, Dong Napo is to kind of show a black face to the direct a more kind of angry face towards the rickshaw and just walk away from there. And that's, I guess, the response that most of us deploy. Yeah. But does that help? And that's the most innocuous kind of response I'm talking about. Of course, there are situations where we get into an argument, and then what typically happens is that both sides lose composure, and then it goes in.
Can I answer that?
Yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah.
So I don't drive, so I have to deal with them a lot.
Yeah.
So what I found is I make up my mind. This is the price I'm willing to pay, which is fair.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
Ola and all of these are also not fair, the prices.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I make up my mind. This is the price I'm willing to pay, which I can wait. Whichever auto agrees to my price, I go with them. If they say more, I don't go with them. This is
Okay.
what
Yeah.
has worked for me.
Good. Good. So you have a more practical framework to deal with it. Yeah. Yeah.
But my question is, when do we say to the person, like, for example, somebody is doing something that irritates us, when
Mm.
is it skillful to say to the person, hey, I'm noticing that what you're doing is irritating me. Would it be possible for you to do something else? When is it skillful to say that, or is it at all skillful? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. See, what we are saying is that I mean, you don't need to be entirely passive in this situation. If you know that the person is cheating you, and you know that this is a fair, then you can always voice it in a manner that does not evoke any kind of negative response from him. Also, he gets the message, and you also don't kind of need to raise your voice, or you don't have to feel agitated internally. That would be probably the most optimal way to deal with it. He has to get the message that he is not being fair, and at the same time, you don't need to sacrifice your composure to deal with that. It's a minor situation, right? If we were to lose our composure, get agitated in such situations, and we face these kind of situations multiple times in a day, then at the end of the day, you'll be exhausted. You'll be completely kind of worn out by all these responses that you've engaged in. So you can't use anger to deal with these situations or any similar situations. It's just counterproductive. It's not helping you in any way to resolve that situation. So let's stay with this example and we'll see. So let's take the discussion forward. So
Venerable,
yeah,
what about injustice?
yeah,
Like let's say in the US today, where immigrants are being targeted, and and so if other people don't raise their voice and protest, and I'm not saying break cars and stuff like that,
yeah,
but if they don't come out and if they don't raise their voice, then that is passive acceptance of what is happening. And in our country too, I mean, you look at Dalits, and if we and we don't raise our voice as much, but then our caste system has continued for centuries. So yeah, I mean, maybe I agree with you. Maybe not anger, but speaking out is
absolutely, yeah. Passivity is not being recommended. Yeah. Passivity probably would be counterproductive. In fact, it is kind of not accepting your responsibility. So you have to find a way. Protest is, of course, justified in these situations, but the protest can't be out of anger.
Right, but see, that's the thing, no? Because let's say in the US today, people start protesting, and then they, these ICE agents and stuff, and the police, they come, they arrest them, they, use tear gas and, all kinds of violent means. And then the protests many times turns violent. What started off as a way of, and besides, I think maybe this, like, politicians all over the world have become so immune to, people protest peacefully and go home, and these people continue. I'm not advocating violence, of course not, but I suppose we've reached a situation that, I mean, the politician will say, fine, the protest is over, everyone's gone home, I just continue doing what I want. So
yeah, protesting is not wrong in these situations. In fact, you give the example of this hierarchy in the Indian society, which is at the root of a lot of social problems that we have. One option for that community would be to take up violence and rise up in arms against the establishment. But the option that was chosen was a more legal, statutory kind of option, where the Constitution provides for protection against discrimination against this community. Yeah. So that was a more peaceful way of protest. That was a more peaceful way of addressing this issue of discrimination. I think if the leader of this community had taken a violence, then India would be in a big problem.
This, like, for example, if we are protesting for helping those people, maybe we are doing this because we feel compassionate towards these people.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So maybe if I'm compassionate, that is why I volunteered. So we're protesting for these people or fighting for their rights.
Right.
So like we can reframe it as
Yeah, you're right. So compassion from both sides would be ideal, but we don't deal with ideal situations. Both sides are kind of devoid of any kind of compassion. The establishment is devoid of compassion. The protesters are devoid of compassion towards the establishment.
Venerable,
Yeah,
but we have a classic case closer home of Gandhiji. I mean, that's the most potent example we have of how non-violence really helped finally, in the final sense, to get us independence. Violence would have never got us independence.
right. Yeah,
So
that's
I think that's such a powerful example. I mean,
yeah. So yeah, it says something about our community also. I mean, this whole belief in the practice of non-violence is so inherent to our society. Without a leadership like that, who knows what shape our freedom struggle would have taken. But that was for political freedom and also for the social freedom that you spoke of. If the leadership had taken a slightly different path, then who knows what situation it would have created. Whether this problem would have been solved, it's not solved yet, but it is better than what it used to be in the past. There are legal protections now against this kind of discrimination. So that was a more peaceful, more compassionate way of dealing with this problem, I think. The leader was compassionate, and the establishment that he was protesting against also showed some compassion to include these provisions in the constitution. Yeah. So there was compassion on both sides. So we'll have to look at those kind of compassionate solutions.
Gendra, are you open for another question? Unless you want to move
Go
on.
ahead. Yeah.
So, I read Lama Yeshe said that anger is the worst possible thing. It can destroy all your merit karma in just 1 second.
Yeah.
But is it necessary for anger to always cause harm? Because often when I feel angry, I don't want to harm the person or hurt the person, but I want to create, for example, social change, or I want to care for someone. The other day, I saw a man beating his wife on the street, and I got angry, but I didn't want to harm the man. I wanted to protect the woman. So it's so confusing when I read this, because I understand how anger can be very bad, but I also see that anger shows me I'm so caring for this woman. It shows my care. So it's very confusing to me when I hear statements like this. If you could just shed some
As you
light.
just said, your physical expression, your verbal expression, or whatever form your response takes, that could be a little aggressive. For example, a mother, when she notices that her child is, playing in the vicinity of a fire, and the child has no sense of what dangers are in store if he continues playing in the vicinity, proximity of fire. And the mother raises her voice, screams at the child, and immediately the child kind of withdraws. Yeah. So it was a forceful, aggressive kind of expression, but it was rooted in compassion. Yeah. So your external expression could be a little more forceful or aggressive, but the motivation has to be compassionate. It has to be more considerate. Yeah.
I just have this thought. I don't know, when any situation comes by, we jump, like I have to be angry to sort it out. Maybe today we are missing that fine line of just confidence.
Yes.
Without being angry.
Yeah.
Right? You're just confident in what you feel, but you necessarily don't need to be angry and shouting in everyone.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of subjective things we also have. We don't know the other side.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe through movies and everything, we just jump to anger the person. Rather, it should be like your inherent confidence in yourself to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, we have it in our 6 perfections as well. So you be angry at the situation. So whatever situation she had of injustice, we are angry towards that, looking at the self-cherishing of ours, or karma, but not anger towards certain people, because we definitely know their history and they will have their own valid reasons for doing that. I think just being angry at the situation and your confidence in handling that generally.
It's an important point. In fact, just to reinforce that point, there's this incident from Shakmuni's life itself. So, of this concept called the Varshavas in the Sangha community, the monsoon retreat. So every monsoon season, the Sangha community kind of withdraws into a monastery, and they stay in the monastery instead of just, otherwise they're kind of wandering around, doing their meditation practice in solitary places, looking for alms, going around villages and towns. But for that period of 3 months during the monsoon retreat, they all withdraw in one location. So there is one occasion when the Sangha had assembled in this place called Gyalten. Gyalten is a place in Shravasti. So the Buddha spent most of his monsoon retreats in Shravasti. Out of 45 monsoon retreats, I think 30 odd he spent there. Very important place. Like if you get a chance, you should visit Shravasti. So the monsoon retreat had come to an end, and it was the practice, all the monks kind of decided to go to their individual solitary retreat places. And Shariputra also was in the assembly, and Shariputra went to Shakyamuni Buddha. He took his permission to go to his meditation place. And Shariputra also has his own disciples, so all his disciples came and they also said goodbye to him, took permission from him to go on their own. So Shariputra, he was addressing all the monks, and he knew a lot of these monks by personal name and the family name and all that. So he would address them by the personal name and then would say goodbye to them. So there was this monk in the assembly, and he noticed Shariputra doing this, and he was looking forward to Shariputra calling out him by his name and then wishing him good luck for his practice and all that. But Shariputra didn't know his name, his personal name and family's name. So in the throng of all these monks who had assembled there, he kind of missed out on this person. So this person immediately got a little angry, and he developed a grudge towards Shariputra. And immediately after the assembly kind of dispersed, Shariputra was making his way out of the monastery. So it so happened that he unintentionally brushed against this monk, or the hem of his robe kind of brushed against this monk. And the monk, he got agitated even more. And Shariputra kind of went on his way because he didn't notice that he had brushed against this monk. He got very upset that Shariputra didn't even say sorry to him. So he felt very angry, very offended. And he said that now is the time for me to teach Shariputra a lesson. So Shariputra, as you know, was the chief disciple of Shakyamuni Buddha. So he, just as Shariputra was about to exit the monastery at the gate, he walked up to Shakyamuni Buddha, and he was on his way to Shakyamuni Buddha's cottage, hut, Kutir. And Maudgalayan and the Anand and other disciples of Buddha noticed this, that this guy is going to complain against Shariputra. So they assemble, all of them assemble in the assembly hall. Because they're expecting Shariputra to kind of do something to put this monk in place. So this monk goes, this bhikshu goes to Shakyamuni Buddha and says, Venerable Sir, no doubt Shariputra is your chief disciple, and it's his pride probably that made him walk away without apologizing to me, even though he harmed me. He brushed so hard against me that my eardrum was about to burst. And Shakyamuni Buddha then says, okay, let's summon Shariputra also. So Shariputra is summoned to his presence. Shariputra pays his respects to Shakyamuni Buddha and takes his place by his side. And then Shakyamuni Buddha asks, is it true that you didn't apologize to this bhikshu after having harmed him? And so all the monks are kind of looking forward to Shariputra's response. They're kind of expecting that Shariputra will be forceful in putting this person down. Of course, it wasn't true that he harmed him. So then Shariputra, he goes on to kind of talk about his practice of patience and control, and how he's kind of rid himself, his mind stream, of all the afflictions of attachment and anger. He says that I'm like the earth who feels neither drawn if a fragrant flower falls on it, nor do I feel any kind of aversion. I'm like the earth which does not feel any aversion if there's excrement on it. So I'm in that kind of a balanced state. And he goes on to kind of talk about his realizations through through a whole set of similes and metaphors. He uses 9 different similes and metaphors. So let's not go into those. So by the end of that description, this monk who is listening to this, he realized that Shariputra actually has very serious kind of attainments, and he develops remorse for his actions. And then he pleads to Shakyamuni Buddha, Venerable Sir, this is not what happened, but it's just out of grudge and anger on my part that I accused Shariputra of having done so. And then Shariputra is asked by Shakyamuni Buddha, is it possible for you to pardon this person, this foolish monk who's done such a negative act? And Shariputra, what he does is, he crouches in the presence of this young monk, a novice monk, bends down, crouches, and then clasps his hand, and then he says that it wasn't my intention to, brush against you. If I've offended or harmed you in any way, I apologize to you. Yeah, and I of course pardon you for what you've done. So the entire monastic assembly is then kind of in awe that Shariputra, not only did he not generate any kind of ill will towards this monk, he was so patient and pardoning, and he actually bent down in front of this novice monk and sought his forgiveness if he had unintentionally kind of harmed or offended him. So that was all coming from. So then the Buddha gave a discourse on how Shariputra is the noblest of his disciples and what kind of attainments he has. And he spoke about how he is steady as the earth. Shariputra had all those abilities, and he was confident about these abilities. And that's the reason he did not, when the Buddha asked him about this incident, he didn't immediately react saying that I didn't do it. That would be the reaction of any normal person. Because that person would have been felt challenged. Oh, I have all these attainments, and this person is foolishly accusing me of this thing. I didn't do it would have been the first response. But instead of doing that, he just kind of spoke about his realizations and then even pardoned the other one. So what Shagun just mentioned, confidence in your own ability, in your own realizations, that was what was responsible for him to remain steady in that situation and not generate any kind of ill will or harmful thought towards that person. Okay, so
also try and remember the 8 verses of mind training.
8 verses of mind training also is very important.
It's very hard to practice.
Yeah.
But at least if we keep...
we need to keep reminding ourselves, reinforcing. Just one read is not sufficient for us to. So there are all these different kinds of flaws with anger. So what are the different flaws of anger that you can think of? Let us all agree that anger is not an optimum response to any situation.
It makes
Uh,
you blind.
Yes, it makes you blind and you lose your composure. It burns bridges, so you lose your friends and relatives, accomplices, companions. Yes. And then
Doesn't really solve anything.
it doesn't solve anything. Yes, you're right. Yeah. If it were solving something, then it could be an effect. It could be at some level you could justify its use. Yes.
Physical and mental illness.
Feeds itself.
It keeps reinforcing future kind of angry responses. Yes. Yeah.
It will be more frustrated to person.
It will be. Yeah. So it's Madhvi just said, it keeps reinforcing your habituation to respond in similar manner in the future. Yeah. Somebody said something. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of psychosomatic illnesses have been linked to anger.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
physical, mental
So
health.
it does affect you physically also. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are all very important drawbacks. Yeah. So you compromise your physical health. You compromise your association with your friends and companions. You lose your composure. Yeah. The revenge does not solve anything. Yeah. And somebody mentioned, Shagun mentioned that it destroys your virtues. Virtues that you've accumulated, merit that you've accumulated through virtuous actions over a long time. Yeah. And destroys your mental calm and composure. So lots of different kinds of flaws. So it's inappropriate to become angry because it is pointless, somebody said. Yeah. And that's exactly the point that's made in this text called the Madhyamak Avatar by Chandrakirti, where he says that if you respond with vengeance when someone harms you, does your bitterness reverse what was already done? Resentment serves no purpose here in this life, and it brings more conflicts in the world beyond too. So it does not solve any purpose. It's just pointless getting angry.
No, well, I think we come to two forms of anger. One which it does not solve any problem, is pointless. And in my own experience, I know anger has very, very strong benefits.
Okay.
I mean, such things counterintuitive in the current scenario, what we are talking, but it has a lot of benefits. My dogs, for example, when I'm angry with them and I tell them, don't do this, they don't repeat that thing again because anger. Yeah, there's something. And so quite often, and my personal problem, which I told you, which I have, anger solves it. Those guys stay away from me. And day after day, and now the situation has come to this that whoever is the guy who's sending that behind me, he's also realized that don't take pangas with this guy. So sometimes it's really very important. Believe me, we have come across, and in the second category also comes the anger of mother getting angry with the child. The child is about to put his finger into the fire. So I don't think that the second category of anger will generate negative karma. I don't know. It's a debatable.
Yeah. So the mother is not angry at the child. The mother is.
At that moment,
no, she's not angry.
At that moment, she is. Then you will have to say that she loves the child at that moment.
And she's loving. It's out of love, out of compassion that she's just using a forceful form to express concern.
Our basic nature is to be calm and composed. But
no, that's what I'm saying. The outward expression could be forceful.
Yeah, but that forcefulness, that energy, we need to be
something loud. It might not generate negative karma.
So might be that is through the anger we are acting, though there is no ill will. But
so what is anger in that case?
It's the motivation intent.
Yeah.
So
what is the anger?
Then it cannot be called anger. But then what about the wrathful deities?
What about them?
No, they show anger.
Oh, yeah, that's a point where we can debate in some other forum, yeah, later on maybe, yeah. But as I said, the mother is not angry at the child. It's just a forceful kind of expression that she's directing at the child. But it's out of compassion. It's out of compassion again. Yeah.
I think we need to define it very clearly. Anger is really when we have that ill will also towards the other.
There's malice. The thought is malicious.
If you are shouting, even if you're telling your dog, probably because you do the right thing, like a kid.
Yeah.
So
there's no malice there, is there?
No, there's no malice. There's no malice. There's no aspect. There's no aspect of revenge or any of this.
Yes. So anger is rooted in this malicious intent.
Kinla, can I ask a
Desire to
question?
harm.
Desire to
My
harm.
question is,
Desire to harm. Yes. Yeah.
my question is, there is so much of violence and harm in the world. I just have to walk out of my apartment to get angry. So now I've given up and I feel like it's better to just renounce. It's not my responsibility to make sure the society is running. I can't control other people. So now I just feel I'm just going to renounce. Is that a skillful way of being in the world?
Yeah, in some situations, I think withdrawing could be a sensible option. Shagun mentioned, right? You not kind of force yourself to react to whatever situation you're presented with. Yeah, pause button is very useful in some situations. Just pause for a moment. Don't react. So withdrawal in that sense is fine. But ultimately, it's like there's COVID all around, and you keep yourself confined to your house and just hoping that COVID doesn't come and hit you. Is that a more sensible way to deal with it, or getting a vaccine a more sensible way of dealing with it? I guess we'll have to think about vaccinating ourselves in the form of developing the right kind of antidotes in our mental continuum to ensure that we do not generate any kind of anger, even in situations where people are provoking you. Like this example that I just spoke of, Shariputra. There was immense provocation for him to kind of respond negatively, aggressively. But there's nothing that is accomplished positively through reacting in an angry manner. So a more sensible way to deal with it would be to work on cultivating these antidotes. And then you want yourself to be challenged. You put yourself out there and then see how well you do against or in the light of these provocations. We also claim that people who are the sources of your anger are actually the best teachers that you can find. And that helps you cultivate a lot of patience. Patience then aids the practice of ethical discipline and the other forms of practice that you need to invest in. So they are the best teachers. So I think we need to kind of challenge ourselves in that way also, I guess.
So,
Yeah.
Venerable, we talk about these two wings, the wisdom and compassion. I think that balance to find out where to pull down and where to kind of, otherwise, there'll be idiot compassion. And
Yes.
if there's no wisdom. So, I think that balance is something which is a tough one to find that where do I get involved? Do I have the energy? So, I think wisdom, compassion, the two wings, I think I find it a very good metaphor.
Yeah, both things are necessary for us to deal with these situations where you're provoked. Compassion is of course required. Wisdom is also required. Sure.
Summarize it
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
As they say, right, there are innumerable external factors. We go out in the world thinking that we can change everything, or we get irritated by everything. That will be like impossible to do.
True.
If I'm on the road, or there are potholes, or there's this, or there's somebody jaywalking, so it's innumerable. Thinking of a solution externally is actually not possible. So it's better to think internally where to invest our time and let go of maybe other things. And find patience in dealing with them.
True. So you can't really control all the aspects of your environment that you're part of. What you can control is how your internal environment is. So you invest in building immunity within yourselves to these kind of provocations.
Like to sum it up, right? I was discussing one of the anger problems I had time back with one of the venerables. And he listened patiently for a long time. And he said this. Said, if your whole body is like phosphorus, right? And you're walking. So any small incident that happens on the road or whatever, it's like a matchstick. So it will burn. Right? The world be like that.
Also,
So you will find, yeah, like you said, no? Every part of the world, there is somebody who bumps it, who cuts you, somebody who shouts at you.
Right. Yeah.
If you're like that, it flare up. And it has that repulsive effect.
True, true. So you need to build your own immunity internally and ensure that um, your mate or your body kind of takes on a more inert physical aspect, not the phosphoric aspect. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So inappropriate because, getting angry doesn't solve anything. It is pointless. And it also says that it is contradictory to dislike future suffering. So all of us do not want to experience any kind of future suffering in the future. But at the same time, we retaliate, respond negative to any kind of provocation in the near term, against any harm in the near term. So Chandrakirti says that he who speaks of exhausting the fruits of non-virtuous actions performed in the past, how can he bear to plant the seeds of future pain by inflicting harm on others and being angry at them? So you're aware that some of the negative experiences that you are having are the ripening of the negative actions that you committed in the past, and you want to kind of clear those away. At the same time, at the slightest of provocation, you want to retaliate against the source of harm. What does that do? It plants a seed in your mind stream again to experience unpleasant experiences in the future or suffering in the future. So why would anyone want to do that? These two, mindsets are contradictory. So then you have it's inappropriate to become angry because it destroys virtues accumulated in the past over a long period of time. So yeah, something that you all heard of. Chandrakirti says that indeed anger felt toward the conqueror's children or bodhisattvas destroys in an instant the virtue gathered by generosity and morality over 100 eons. Thus, there is no evil similar to intolerance or anger. So you could destroy all your store of merit from the past by engaging in angry thought, not even angry verbal or physical action, angry thought directed towards a bodhisattva. And you don't really know who is a bodhisattva. So, that can destroy a lot of your merit. And it says it could even destroy 1,000 or merit, which is equivalent to the merit that you would have accumulated over 1,000 eons. That's a lot of merit that gets destroyed. Yeah. So you need to be careful. Yeah. So here, the example speaks about 100 eons. Maybe, there's this between the object of anger and the agent of anger. You could have a situation where the object of anger is a bodhisattva and the agent of anger is a non-bodhisattva. Or reverse, agent of anger is a bodhisattva and the object of anger is a bodhisattva with lesser level of attainment or equal level of attainment or a higher level of attainment. So based on these different permutations, there could be different situations.
Sorry, what do you mean by what do you mean by agent of?
So I get angry at Madhvi. Yeah, so Madhvi is the object of anger, right?
And you're the agent.
I am the agent of anger. So it is inappropriate to become angry because it destroys eons worth of your merit. It impedes the ripening potential of virtual deeds. So, when you speak about your merit from the past getting compromised, either being erased or it could be, the positive ripening of your past good merit could be delayed or maybe attenuated. So there are these different kind of possibilities. Yeah. Or it could get completely erased. So there are different permutations possible. There could be an attenuation, there could be a postponement, or there could be a complete erasing of your past merit. So there are these different modes of impending in the future. So you don't even have to wait for the future to have the effect of anger manifesting. It could manifest even in the near term. So, another flaw is it disfigures your face and robs you of a judgment. What Shanti mentioned. Yeah, it robs you of your judgment of what is right and wrong because you lost your mental composure in the moment when you're angry. Disfigures your face. So maybe somebody should, I'm sure there are tests done on this, and you just take a snapshot of a person when he's composed, when he's quiet, is a normal state, and when he's angry and agitated. We probably take on a much uglier kind of form when we are angry. Yeah. So wrath disfigures your face and leads you to what is unwholesome. It robs your mind of the judgment of what is right and wrong. Intolerance is swift to throw you to the lower realms. Yeah. So that's another flaw of anger. It blemishes not just in the future, but in the present too. So my mind will not experience any kind of peace if it fosters painful thoughts of hatred. I shall find no joy or happiness, unable to sleep. I shall feel unsettled. And this is, I'm pretty sure all of us have experienced this. When we get angry, it's our peace that gets compromised. Yeah. We lose our sleep, we lose our composure, our physical demeanor kind of becomes very ugly. We feel unsettled, agitated. Yeah. So our peace gets compromised. And is there any possibility that our anger can resolve the situation? I think it does not. Yeah. So to counter what Sakit has, but we need to be precise in our definition of anger. Yeah. A mere wrathful expression is not necessarily an angry reaction. Yeah.
Actually, the perfect description. If there's a desire to harm the other person, then
yeah. So ill will has to be.
If there's no desire to harm the other person, then it's acceptable.
Yeah. So anger triggers all kinds of physical transformation. Yeah. We
start shouting,
we need to be careful. Yeah.
Anger subside. But the regret, why did I get anger? That regret will stay for a long time.
The regret kind of keeps your mind unsettled for a long time, right? So all it is doing is it is kind of compromising your stability and peace. Yeah.
One also must not forget that it's not just the intention. There are two eyes here. It's intention and the impact. Because there is also a person who's facing this. A lot of the conversation right now where child mental health is concerned and all that is not just whether a parent, for example, has been tough for the child or anything. It's also like what has been the impact of the same thing, whether it is even in situations of bullying and all that.
Yeah.
So it is a two-way thing. One can't simply say, well, my intention, because then you're scot-free, you can get away with everything.
Yeah.
But also the responsibility is that the other person who is facing it is also receiving something.
Yeah.
There is their perception and their own context to things.
Yeah.
So
intention, which is modulated with discernment. Yeah. So the parent has to be discerning enough to realize that, if he also there's no ill will internally, even these wrathful manifestations that he or she takes on, even those could be harmful towards the child. If the parent is lacking of that discernment, then of course it's not. So discernment is required. Yeah.
Genla?
Yeah.
I have a question about, so when I'm angry, when does it become a karma? Like there are some stages, right? Like if I just think it in my mind and I use antidote, does it still impact? Or like what has to happen for it to impact my virtue, store of virtue?
Okay, so it starts off as an intention. So that's the driver of the action. Yeah. So that then drives either a physical action. So you could pick up a stick and direct it towards the source of suffering. Or it could take on a verbal form where you direct some sort of harsh speech towards that person. Or, that anger doesn't take on this physical or verbal expression, but it stays in your mind stream and it kind of intensifies till a point where you actually generate this wish to harm the other person. So that is the mental action. So in any of these three cases, the karma is kind of activated. Karma is created. So it need not necessarily be only verbal or physical action. Even the mental thought, if it is, ill will that is describing the thought, then that has created karma. And negative karma, of course, yeah. Negative karma.
So, but if you get merely, let's say let's say at Trump, I might get angry at Trump and his policies, but I certainly have no wish or no desire to harm him. I just wish he would stop.
Yeah.
Now, does that anger towards Trump
I don't think that has created any karma there. There's no mental action that has been triggered by this annoyance. Yeah. Only when it's taken on some malicious form, where you actually want that person to be harmed. Yeah. So we do that, right? Or let this person slip on the stage or something like that. And that probably is harmful thought, and that would create a negative karma. Okay, maybe we'll wind up. So what we discussed today was just the flaws of anger, the different flaws of anger. I wanted to cover the antidote part also. So maybe we'll do that in the next session. So yep, let's just do a short dedication. So just take a moment to